of bhava and prema in Nectar of Instruction. What a wonderful place to be if we can ever achieve it. Once I asked His Grace Pankajangri Prabhu, I was sitting next to him, and it's always a question I had in my mind. We always recite this prayer, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratisha Namaha. That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most magnanimous incarnation. Well, actually, he's not incarnation. Once Srila Prabhupada was in a conversation, and he was talking about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the gentleman he was talking to was not very familiar with Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada asked one of his disciples to explain to this guest, who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And then the devotee started off by saying, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incarnation of Krishna. And immediately Srila Prabhupada stopped him. He said, not incarnation, Krishna himself. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, not incarnation. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Namo Mahavadanyaya. He's the most magnanimous feature of Krishna, because he came to give which no other feature of the Lord had ever given. And that's freely given Krishna Prema. So often we have heard this terminology, freely giving Krishna Prema. And it's always been a question in my mind, if Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to freely give Krishna Prema, then why does it seem it's so rare and so difficult to get Krishna Prema? It said that Mahaprabhu broke open the stores of love and he gave it. So I asked this question, which has been on my mind for some time, to Pankajangri Prabhu. This Krishna Prema, Mahaprabhu is giving it freely. What does it really mean? Because I wouldn't mind taking it freely. I want it to be given freely. And then he gave me one example. He said, in India, there's something called the milk of the lioness. Sometimes people try to get the milk of the lioness. And he said that milk is so potent that no container can hold it. If you take like a copper container or some ordinary container and you put the milk, he said it'll just fall apart. So he said, yes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to freely give Krishna Prema. The question is whether we can hold it or not. So in one sense, our journey of Krishna consciousness is a preparation of us becoming the right receptacle to receive this Krishna Prema. It's there. It's there. It's just we have to be able to, just like the milk of the lioness, you need the right container. So in the same way, we need to be the right recipient of Krishna Prema. So I thought that was a very interesting explanation, and it's stuck in my mind since I heard that. And now my mind goes to, when will I be able to be the right receptacle for this Krishna Prema? And in one sense, that should be all of our prayers too. So these two verses, text number 10 and 11, they bring us to the stage of Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. Bhava Bhakti is the first rays of the sun of Prema. So last week we commenced reading text number 10. And we had some nice discussion. Oh, Emma Mataji is writing, how can we become this receptacle? I look at it in different ways, Emma Mataji. One is when we come to the stage of Sudanam, pure chanting, then we're the right receptacle. When we receive the full grace of Guru and Krishna, that grace, that mercy allows us to become the perfect receptacle. And when we become free of the offenses of Vaishnava aparad, when we become cleansed of, any tendency to want to criticize not only a Vaishnava, but anybody, completely free of the tendency to criticize, then we become the right receptacle. There are many other considerations, but those are three that come to mind immediately. How is that? Does that satisfy you?
Yes, yeah, worth reflecting on. Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yes, definitely. Chandrika Mataji has joined us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And our condolences to you, Chandrika Mataji, on the passing away of your father.
Thank you.
I hope you and your family are coping.
Yes, we are.
All right. It's nice that you could come.
Thanks.
Okay. So I just wanted to continue today a bit with text number 10. And then we will we'll continue from there. So we'll start off by our Mangala Charanam prayers. Nana Shastra Vicharane Kanipano Sadharma Samstapako Lokanamita Karino Tribhavani Manya Sharanya Karo Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Shri Shri Sad Goswami Astaka by Srinivasacharya verse 2. So this week, Tuesday, was a very auspicious day. It was the appearance day of Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami. So I hope that many of you all took advantage of that occasion and read and meditated about Gopala Bhatta Goswami. Gopala Bhatta Goswami, as many of you all know, he's glorified for many wonderful qualities. But the one that stands out among many is the power of his devotion. His devotion was so powerful that Gopal Bhatta Goswami had a Shila, and it was a black Shila, and he used to worship the Shila with tremendous amount of devotion and love. But he used to see that how the other pujaris, they had deities that they could dress. They could dress them very beautifully. And then within his mind, he also had this desire that somehow or the other, he could dress his Lord, but his Lord was in the form of a Shaligram Shila. And as he was meditating in this way, his Shaligram manifested in the form of Radha Raman. And then the next day when he came and he saw, where's his Shaligram? He saw Radha Ramanji in front of him. And then he understood that the Lord had understood his desire and he had manifested, self-manifested deity of Radha Ramanji. And it is through this desire of Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami that we have the beautiful darshan of Sri Radha Ramanji wherever we go to Vrindavan. And it's nice, maybe if I'll share maybe later today, if I can on our forum, some katha about Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Hema Mataji, you shared Radhanath Swami Maharaj speaking. I've not had the time to hear Maharaj speak yet, but I think was it Gopala Bhatta Goswami you shared?
Yeah, both Gopala Bhatta Goswami as well. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So we can also absorb ourselves in that. So I'll just carry on with the Mangala Charanam prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namam Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So last week we read text number 10, and I'll just quickly read the translation again. In the Shastras, it is said that of all types of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of the higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, Jnanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge may take to devotional service. He is superior to the others, however, others. Are you seeing my screen? I just want to check.
We can just see you, Prabhu.
No, we can't see the screen.
I thought as much something is wrong, yeah? Just bear with me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Okay.
Still nice to have your darshan, though.
No. So in the Shastras, it is said that of all types of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of the higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, Jnanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge may take to devotional service. He is superior to the others. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent on Sri Krishna, transcendental coward boy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her kunda, lake, is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis. Who then will not reside at Radhakund and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, aprakrita bhava, render loving service to the divine couple Sri Radha Govinda, who perform their Astakaliya Leela, the eternal eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radhakund are the most fortunate people in the universe. So this verse, as we discussed last week, is Srila Rupa Goswami has stepped back in this verse. And in one sense, what is Rupa Goswami doing here? Rupa Goswami is glorifying Srimati Radharani and her Kund, Radhakund. And he employs a technique to enhance this glorification. And the way he does it, he steps back and he starts to explain the hierarchy of various types of people, starting with, the fruited workers, then those we called karmis, and then we use the term, vikarmis. Firstly, you get us people who do not believe in scriptures, and then you got the people a little higher than them. They believe in the scriptures, but their motives for going to the scriptures is simply to get some material gain. And they follow the injunctions of the scriptures simply for the purposes of artha kama, dharma, and moksha. Sense gratification, economic development, religiosity, and liberation. This is why they would go to the scriptures. And then above them, you get the Gyanis. The Gyanis are those who are advanced in knowledge. And, you may get two types of Gyanis. One is the Brahmavadis, and the other one is the Mayavadis. The Brahmavadis, they just have, we spoke about Shantaras. They know that Krishna is supreme, but so the Brahmavadis, they are interested only on the impersonal aspect of the Lord. They're not they do not give much emphasis on the personal aspect. And then you have those who are the categories not of the impersonal aspect, but on the personal aspect. And in those categories of those who focus on the personal aspect, you get those who are in Shantaras, who just observe the Lord passively. They do not render any service because they do not feel the Lord is in need of any service. And as we explained last week, they do not offer the Lord food because they think the Lord cannot get hungry. They do not offer the Lord a drink because they do not think he gets thirsty. They do not offer him a nice place to sleep because they do not think he gets tired. So they have a conception of the Lord that he is not in need of anything. So because he's not in need of anything, there's no need to offer him service. So they just passively, adore the Lord. And then you get higher than that, you get those on the platform of Dasyaras, rendering service, and Sakyaras, friendship, Vatsalyaras, parenthood, and then Madhurya Ras, which is conjugal. So this verse talks about those who achieve a prema. So we know there's two types of prema we spoke about in the previous discussions. You get Vaikuntha prema, and then you get the prema of Goloka. And the prema of Goloka is there's higher levels. There is Rag, then Anurag, then Man, and rising all the way to Mahabhav. So even within prema, there's higher stages. And to come to the stage of service in Goloka Vrindavan, Dasya Ras, one has to at least come to the stage of Rag, attachment. And then, as I was saying, the highest stage is the stage of Mahabhav. And that is, even the Mahabhav has got categories. And the highest category of Mahabhav is Srimati Radharani. No one can excel Srimati Radharani in a prema. And it is said when that love is directed towards Krishna, it is Mahabhav. And when that love of Srimati Radharani is directed towards living entities, that is Karuna. Therefore, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes in the mood of Srimati Radharani, that Mahabhav which is directed towards Krishna, when Mahaprabhu directs that to the living entities, it's a type of Karuna that is unlike any other type of Karuna. Because that is the mood of Srimati Radharani. It's Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood of love and blessings and compassion on the living entities is unlike anyone else. Any questions or comments on that before I move on? It all makes sense.
Prabhuji, sorry. You know,
Yes,
Prabhuji, the
yeah.
Vaikuntha Prema, is that own reference? Or
Yes.
is that okay.
Yeah. Yes, it's all on reverence, seeing the Lord as master and we as servant. That is Vaikuntha Prema. There may be some semblance of Sakya, but it's very rare in Vaikuntha. Some semblance of friendship. And obviously there is Lakshmi Devi in Vaikuntha. She has some a different type of conjugal rest with the Lord. But the other residents of Vaikuntha, they are all on reverence here.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to, in terms of stepping back in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a nice section where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains the same thing that Rupa Goswami is explaining, the same aspect. And I thought I'll just read that in today's session. Let me just make sure that I have it in the right place. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Okay, let me share my screen. So this is a conversation between Srila Rupa Goswami and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 19, text 144. And the entitlement of the chapter is Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami met the Lord in Prayag. He was the prime minister, and Sanatan Goswami was the minister of finance in the Nawab Hussain Shah. They had left his service, and they'd come to a place called Ramakeli. That was the first meeting. And Mahaprabhu imparted within the heart of Rupa Goswami the entire science of bhakti. So, it's a very similar theme to this verse, and I thought I'll just read some of those verses, in keeping with the theme of this verse. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So text 144. This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talking to Srila Rupa Goswami. The unlimited living entities can be divided into two divisions. Those that can move and those that cannot move. Who are living entities that can't move? One example.
Trees.
Trees, yes, the trees. and those that can move and those that cannot move. So those are the first two distinctions. Then, among living entities that can move, there are birds, aquatics, and animals. Text 145. Although the living entities known as human beings are very small in quantity, that division may be still, let me just mute. Although the living entities known as human beings are very small in quantity, because there are 8,400,000 species of life and only 400,000 fall in the human category, that division may be still further subdivided. For there are many uncultured human beings like malechas, pulindas, powders, and shabaras. So in living entities, you get uncultured and you get cultured. In today's Kali Yuga, practically most living entities fall in this class: malechas, pulindas, powders, and shabaras. Shabaras are like the people who live in the jungle. Among human beings who are followers of the Vedic principles are considered civilized. So uncultured, cultured. So even in the cultured human beings, those that follow the Vedic principles, they are considered civilized. Among these, almost half simply give lip service while committing all kinds of sinful activities against these principles. So even among those who are considered to be cultured in that they followed Vedic principles, half of them you can take away because they only give lip service to these Vedic principles. And such people, they do not care for the regulative principles. Now, among the followers of Vedic knowledge, most are following the process of fruitive activity and distinguishing between good and bad work. I get hot tea coming to me nowadays. So among the followers of Vedic knowledge, most are followers of the process of fruitive activities. That within the Vedic culture, you get those that follow karma kanda, then you get jnana kanda, and then you get upasana kanda. Karma kanda are those that follow the rules and regulations, regulated principles of Vedic culture. Jnana kanda are those that just follow the knowledge aspects of the Vedas. And upasana kanda are those who are the devotees. Out of many such fruitive actors, there may be one who is actually wise. So all of the followers of the Vedic culture, proper culture, only one is wise. And then there's the quotation, out of many millions of such wise men, one may actually become liberated mukta. And out of many millions of such liberated persons, a pure devotee of Lord Krishna is very difficult to find. So this is emphasizing how rare a pure devotee of Lord Krishna is. There's millions of wise men. None of those, out of millions of wise men, may become liberated. And out of those liberated persons, only one is a devotee. So this tells us how rare a devotee is. Because a devotee of Lord Krishna is desireless, he is peaceful. This is very interesting verse, this one. And this is Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Deva Santa Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashanta. This is a very famous verse. And it is saying that it is only a devotee that is Shanta, peaceful. Why is it only that a devotee is peaceful? Because it is only a devotee that has no desires. Others, they may have given up material desires. The muktikami, they are seeking liberation. The Siddhikami is seeking perfection in yogic performance. And the devotee, he is seeking nothing. Well, actually, a devotee has got some desire, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. The devotee's desire is how Krishna may be pleased. And because the devotee's desire is only for Krishna, not even a tinge of personal desire, they are the only Shanta, peaceful. And Prabhupada gives a very beautiful purport, but I'll leave you to read that yourself. So only a devotee is peaceful. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary system. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with the bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. So this has been our trajectory, going up, going down, going everywhere, just transmigrating, wandering. But by the mercy of Krishna and Guru, some living entities meet a Guru, a bona fide spiritual master. And when they meet a bona fide spiritual master, what happens? That spiritual master plants, or that devotee receives the seed of bhakti. The bhakti bij means seed. And if that seed, we'll read, carry on reading. When a person receives the seed of devotional service, he should take care of it by becoming a gardener and sowing the seed in his heart. You know, it is said, imagine we are in an ocean, and we know how vast the ocean is. I only had an impression of how vast it is when the Malaysian Airlines disappeared. I think is it the Pacific? And how it would take days and days and days for the rescuers even to come to the point. And it is said, imagine in this vast ocean, there is one, what do you call this? Rubber ducky, or this little tube, rubber tube. And you are a tortoise, and the tortoise is coming up to breathe. What is the probability of the tortoise when it comes up? It's going to go to the hole of the rubber duck. It's so fractionally, so minuscule. So that living entity who meets a bona fide spiritual master is so fortunate. And as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, and recently Divyanam Prabhu shared this video, and this video comes from these verses of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, becoming a gardener and sowing the seed in the heart. If he waters the seed gradually by the process of Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, the seed will begin to sprout. That means that fortunate soul who manages to get this bij, bhakti lata bij, and he takes the effort to water it, and the watering process is Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, that seed will sprout. And when the seed sprout, what happens then? As one waters the bhakti lata bij, the seed sprouts and the creeper gradually grows to the point where it penetrates the walls of this universe and goes beyond the Viraja river. Now the Bhagavatam gives some explanation about the walls of this universe, and it is mind-boggling. How there's so many layers, and each layer is twice the size of the previous layer, and it is so thick, it's practically impenetrable. No ordinary soul can penetrate the walls of the universe. It is billions and billions of yojanas thick. But this bhakti lata, it's creeper, it can penetrate. And it goes to the Viraja river, lying between the spiritual world and the material world. Between the material world and the spiritual world is the Viraja river. And then it attains Brahmaloka, the planet of Lord Brahma. And then it penetrates further. It reaches the spiritual sky. And when it reaches the spiritual sky, it comes to, there's a planet called Goloka Vrindavan. It comes to Goloka Vrindavan. Being situated in one's heart and being watered by Shravana and Kirtana, the bhakti creeper grows more and more. In this way, it attains the shelter of the desire tree of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is eternally situated in the planet known as Goloka Vrindavan, the topmost region of the spiritual sky. So this creeper, it grows and grows and grows and grows, and finally it comes to Goloka Vrindavan. And what happens in Goloka Vrindavan? The creeper greatly expands in the Goloka Vrindavan planet. And there it produces the fruit of love of Krishna, Krishna Prema. Although remaining in the material world, the gardener regularly sprinkles the creeper with the water of hearing and chanting. So this is something mystical. You know, you can be in the spiritual world, and although you're here in the material world, but the main aspect is hearing and chanting. And then the scary part comes. If the devotee commits an offense at the feet of a Vaishnava while cultivating the creeper of devotional service in the material world, his offense is compared to a mad elephant that uproots the creeper and breaks it. In this way, the leaves of the creeper are dried up. So much of effort, so much of mercy, so much of grace. We receive the beads, and we cultivated it with Shravanam and Kirtanam, and the creeper has flourished and it's grown and it's expanded. And just by one act, the mad elephant offense, everything can be. It's called Hati Mata. Hati is elephant, and Mata is mad. If a mad elephant comes into your garden, he will destroy everything. So this mad elephant is the offense to the Vaishnavas, which we should never do. Such beautiful purports by Srila Prabhupada. You can read this. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 19 and verses 144 onwards. The gardener must defend the creeper by fencing it all around so that the powerful elephant of the offenses may not enter. So what is the fence? Prabhupada. Yes,
Association of devotees. Association of devotees.
Yes, 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 the association of devotees. That is the fence. We surround ourselves. And again, Prabhupada gives such a wonderful purport, and in the purport he quotes the 6 items that we studied early on, the 6 items which destroy bhakti. Atyahara prayaschascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha lolyamcha sadbir bhaktir vinaschati. So we must take very, very good care of this seed that we receive. And then some unwanted creepers, just like weeds, will come, such as the creepers of desire for material enjoyment. And these unwanted creepers, they look like the real creeper. This is the strange thing. And we watering, but instead of watering the real creeper, we are watering the unwanted creeper. The creepers of pratishta, name, fame, and material enjoyment. So we must be very careful, just like sometimes when we water the garden, we're watering the plants, but we're also watering the weeds at the same time. So we must become expert gardeners. We must know what the weeds are, pluck the weeds out. Don't water the weeds. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving such a beautiful analogy, such a beautiful metaphor in these verses. If one does not distinguish between the bhakti creeper and other creepers, the sprinkling of water is misused. And dear devotees, this is a reality. It's a reality that all of us face in our spiritual journey. That, we will water. We can water. It's just like sometimes we chant Hare Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna is a prayer. But if we think of other desires, the holy name is Chintamani, we can get the other desires. So we must be vigilant. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, as soon as an intelligent devotee sees an unwanted creeper growing beside the original creeper, he must cut it down instantly. Then the real creeper, the Bhakti Lata, grows nicely, returns home back to Godhead, and seeks shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna. We can speak for a few classes just on these verses. Maybe in the future we can. So in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes in these beautiful verses, and I really, when we come, I just want to move on to text 164 and 165 because it's so important. I'll read text number 165. As long as there is not the slightest fragrance of pure love of Krishna, which is the perfect medicinal herb for controlling Lord Krishna within the heart. The opulences of the material perfections known as siddhis, the Brahmanical perfections, Satyasama, Titiksha, and so on, the trance of the yogis, and the monastic bliss of Brahman all seem wonderful for men. That means we've got to get a genuine taste. It is so nicely described here by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. The slightest fragrance of pure love of Krishna. Even the slightest fragrance has to be there. And if it's not there, we will still be attracted by all of the other distractions. So it is extremely important that we develop taste for Krishna consciousness, genuine taste. Because if that genuine taste is not there, the danger to be distracted, danger to go somewhere else will always exist for us. And that taste, the genuine taste, will come, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, through hard work, not hard work in the sense of laboring, but being serious about our Krishna consciousness and being aware of what we need to do and doing it. And then we come to this very famous verse, which is the definition of pure devotional service. This is where it features. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself spoke it. So before I move on, I just want to pause. I spoke a lot and covered a lot. I just want to see if anyone's got any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Chandra.
You mentioned that when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, it passes through the universes and goes directly up to Goloka Vrindavan. That is the attentive chanting, right? If we just sort of whimsically, or not whimsically, but not attentive and not taking it so seriously, would the penetration still take place?
Yeah, I was reading the other day, even at the stage of Namabhas, even in the stage of shadow chanting, not even Sudanam, even the stage of Namabhas can give one liberation. It won't give you Krishna prema, it can give you liberation. So even even faulty chanting of the holy names has so much of benefit, but we don't want to be there because we can see how Ajamil in the Bhagavatam chanted shadow, Namabas, but he got so much of benefit. Now, we have to come to Sudanam for that holy name to take us to the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna. Well, the holy name is Krishna, non-different from Krishna. So the holy name will reveal itself in the form of Krishna at the stage of Sudanam. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments, reflections, realizations?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Suparna Mataji.
Would you say Arjun from Mahabharata, would you say he was a devotee of Lord Krishna?
Mataji, I can't hear you very clearly because your voice is breaking up.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now?
It's slightly better, yes.
Okay. Would you say Arjun,
Yes.
Arjun from Mahabharata, was he a devotee of Krishna?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Would you say, after reading everything, the scriptures, would you say he was peaceful?
Arjuna?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And can you give example? Can you explain why you would call him peaceful?
Why would call Arjuna peaceful?
Yes. In what situation was he peaceful? And whether he was never sort of disturbed.
So as I was explaining that verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita,
Yeah.
Muktikami, Asanta. A devotee, peaceful means, this verse of Nectar from Chaitanya Charitamrita says, the only stage one can be Santa is when one is free of desires, material desires. Right? That is the definition of peaceful. As long as one is not free of desires, be it for material desires, the desire for bhukti or mukti, you can never be peaceful. Arjuna, being a devotee of the Lord, he certainly had no desire for bhukti or mukti or kami. His desire was to please Krishna. The Arjuna we see in the Mahabharata on the battlefield where Bhagavad Gita was being spoken to him, that was Krishna putting him in that situation. But he was willingly allowed himself to be put into that situation so that the Lord could speak Bhagavad Gita. So externally, it may seem that he was not peaceful in that particular situation. But the fact that he was allowing himself not to be peaceful in a sense for the service of Krishna, he was peaceful. I'm not sure if that makes sense to you.
It does, in context of what you just said, it does make sense. And it also helps me to understand what you were trying to teach. Is that lack of knowledge, according to you, right?
Yeah.
In Arjun's case, was all designed by Krishna. Like
Yes.
you would say there was lack of knowledge because he was obviously baffled when he was in the battlefield.
Yes. Yes.
He was ignorant and he was confused and
Yes.
he couldn't make up his mind.
Yeah.
So, but you are describing that situation as one that one won't say in your context is a stage where he's not peaceful, right? According to you, it's a design. But given that he's not attached to material, like his other brothers as well, would describe him to be someone as peaceful, and that's the characteristic of a devotee, right?
Yes. The characteristic of a devotee, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
In the Bhagavatam, in the first canto, there's also another nice incident. Arjuna, he, when after Ashvatthama had killed the sons of Draupadi, Arjuna made a promise that if he doesn't kill Ashvatthama, then he'll take his own life. And then he went chasing after Ashvatthama, and he saw Ashvatthama, and then Ashvatthama released the Brahmastra towards Arjuna. And when the Brahmastra was coming towards Arjuna, there's very beautiful and interesting verses in the Bhagavatam, which describes Arjuna's mood. You know, momentarily he was like wondering what's going on, but that was so momentarily. Then immediately he prayed to Krishna, and he didn't pray to Krishna to stop the Brahmastra. He didn't pray to Krishna to empower him to counteract the Brahmastra. His prayer to Krishna at that point was so interesting. He told Krishna, please remove any fear that may be there. Because he's saying that he just wants to completely just absorb his mind on Krishna and not think about anything else. And he just prays to Krishna that, you know, whatever obstacles that exist in his path to remember him, may that be removed. He wasn't even thinking about being saved. So you can read that in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. Very interesting. His mood, Arjuna's inner mood. All right. Thank you for that nice question, Mataji. Anyone else has got any questions? Sorry, did that answer your question, Mataji, or you got anything further to add?
Oh, no, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else has got any reflections or comments? Because I'm thinking we've got like 4 minutes left. Maybe I won't start text 11. I just wanted to finish text number 10 in in a more complete way. We can start text 11 next week. If anyone's got any questions, comments, reflections, additions to what we discussed today, please feel free to.
Prabhuji, sorry, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I didn't understand one point. You mentioned about 3 humans. One is Karmakandi, one is Gnani, and third one was Upasna. So I didn't understand the third category. Is it the devotee we are talking about?
Yeah, the devotee. We're talking about the devotee.
Okay, so Upasna would be devotee. Okay, yeah, thanks.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Realizations? Okay, that is, let me just see if there's anything else I had on my slides that I wanted to communicate. That's text 11. Yeah, Shri, next verse we'll talk more about living at Radhakund, the amazing benefits of one living at Radhakund. We can talk about other things, but Vipralamba Seva and all, but I won't go into that. So if there's no other questions or comments by anyone, I'll stop here today. Thank you for attending. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your questions. All glories to your service. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.